All right, we are now watching the Cyberpunk 2077 48-minute gameplay. So first off, let's talk about the surprise that they did this. Because for the
Oh,
longest time, they were saying that they weren't going to show us Cyberpunk 2077. A lot of people that were there at Gamescom said that they actually said it wouldn't be shown for another year, directly to people that were at this exclusive showing. So something changed at Gamescom that allowed for us to see this. And I would assume it's the positive feedback, right?
you are correct. They did confirm that.
From like the Gamescom attendees, they had such positive feedback that they were like, okay, let's give this a shot.
Yeah.
Do you think it
So
was a good move on their part, Derek?
I think it was a great move because then all we had was like that teaser trailer from all the way back then and the one from the Xbox conference, but now we actually get to see this.
Right. And this was, I mean, God, 48 minutes of uncut gameplay all the way through, no loading screens, just what they currently have in development. And they reiterated that so many times. It's so clear that there's a fear now with these developers that changing a puddle is all that's necessary to start this negativity storm on Reddit and Twitter and wherever else, right? So they're trying so hard to dodge that, and I respect it, you know. And I'm glad that they're doing it because I don't want to see that happen in this game. It's clearly a work in progress. They still have a long ways to go until it releases. I still think this game's a year and a half, 2 years away. What about you guys, Mike? When do you think this game's releasing?
I can't imagine this isn't going to release on current gen.
I think it's
would
confirmed
imagine
for current gen actually, but probably cross
Is it
generational.
confirmed for current gen?
I believe so. Am I right on that, Derek?
They did say, judging by the specs and everything, that the PC hardware that they were using for the demos is capable of current gen.
This was a 1080 Ti. This was not an RTX or anything like that. This was a
Right,
1080
but that's
Ti.
not what I'm saying. Consoles though. We're talking consoles,
they can-
and that's what I'm saying. I don't think current gen consoles can handle this.
I think it can. Personally, I don't think there was anything in this demo that was so mind-blowing that it can't be on current gen. The only thing that I saw in this that I thought was like, oh, wow, I haven't seen anything to that level before, was the city and the number of pedestrians. Otherwise, I thought it looks absolutely gorgeous, but I don't think it looks especially better than many other open-world games out there. It's more dense and more detailed in a lot of ways, and that comes down to development time. But I don't think that this graphically looks like something that couldn't be on current gen with a few downgrades.
Yeah,
See,
I can imagine this being a bridge game.
Right. It's a game that's going to be cross-generational.
I don't think so. If it is, awesome. You know, we get it sooner. Personally, I would absolutely have no problem waiting for it, you know, any longer. We're consistently getting great titles, and I don't need this. You know, as much as I want to play this, I'd rather them give the attention it needs. And if they feel that next gen hardware, you know, is going to be the best way to play it, and they think that that's what we need to wait for, I don't want another situation like we get where these games are kind of being held back, you know, being cross-generational to make sure that everybody gets some sort of product. I don't want that. So I don't even know if I want it on current gen. You got to remember, while you're saying, oh, it doesn't look, you know, anything mind-blowing, you know, even on this, you know, architecture, you got to remember how open this is, and there was no loading. What was name one scene you saw in that entire thing where there was a loading? There was nothing.
Right. I don't disagree with that, but
consistent.
it comes down to the development time and the process and what they have as a goal in mind. That's not something that necessarily is bound by hardware. It can be, but it's not necessarily bound by hardware. It's bound by their vision and their goals. And they've been developing this for 5+ years, and by the time it comes out, 7+ years. I think a lot of developers working with that time frame with a big a studio as CD Projekt Red could accomplish the same thing. I think what's going to show that this game is not possible on current hardware are the things like lighting and particle effects and this and that. Those are the things that are going to push the GPUs too far, the CPU too far. The number of pedestrians on screen in the city is something that actually could push CPUs too hard, right? That's something that could make this not possible on current gen. I don't think something like no load times or load times that are hidden behind traveling down an elevator, I don't think that means that it can't be possible. It just means that they're smart about how they're hiding these things. And I imagine that's what it's going to be. It's going to be Jak and Daxter was the first one to do it. Jak and Daxter was the first one to realize, hey, and this was Naughty Dog, of course, who then moved on to do it further. Let's put them in an elevator and take those 15 seconds to hide the load time while they're going down in the elevator. And that's what we're seeing to a much larger extent now with Cyberpunk 2077. They're being smart about how they're hiding it.
Yeah, and plus if you look at the walls, like you can see definite degradation within kind of the what's it called? It's like upholstery.
Yeah.
Like you can definitely see the smaller details within it, which is just beautiful.
It looks like we got to expand the number of people that can join us here. D-Day, hold on one second. No, D-Day wants to join. We got Miss Mel. Oh, sorry, I got D-Day in. Never mind. D-Day is in there. Okay, let me. How many people are we allowed to have in here? Only 3, so we have to drag on people from now on. Let me expand that. I'm going to make it 10 people tonight, guys. Somewhere around 10 or 11. Open the door. We're opening the door. Anybody who wants to come in on sub and Patreon only chat, the +1 Posse voice chat, feel free to come in. D-Day, welcome. If you want to unmute your mic whenever you feel comfortable, welcome to +1 Posse chat. Well, one thing we're seeing right now, we saw combat, but we're also seeing gratuitous nudity right now. They didn't hold back at all with that. And that's just a kind of a part of Cyberpunk, right? The disconnect with the body. It's no longer something that can be looked at in that way. That's kind of the whole point. It's now a machine. It's something that you upgrade. It's an object. And I hope that they play with that a lot. And I kind of feel like they already are in this first part of the trailer. But let's go back to the combat, because that was the first glimpse that we had of combat. We saw her using an inhaler to slow down time. We saw her doing sort of side jumps as well, something that you don't often see in first-person combat that fast-paced. You see it in like Call of Duty occasionally, but not like this with like an open-world shooter RPG. Like I don't feel like we've often seen that in this kind of game.
No, and it's just a testament to the engine that they built during the development of this, because this is not the same engine that they used for Witcher 3. This is entirely new.
There's certain aspects, I think, that are brought over from Witcher 3. I know in one video I was watching, they were talking about how the shadows look very similar to the shadows in Witcher, because they have a specific quality about them. So I'm sure it's built off of that engine, but it has to be upgraded, right? Now, what do you think about it being first person? We're seeing this combat in first person. Do you think that it was something they had to do in order to achieve what we're looking at here with the combat?
Personally, no. Granted, I do think if it was in third person, it would be cooler, but at the end of the day, I'm not really sad that it's not in third person. I mean, we still get to see our character in cutscenes. We still get to see our character within the customization menu.
Right.
So it's not really a big deal to me. Granted, for other people, it kind of is.
I've seen a lot of people complain. I would have liked the option, but I totally understand why it's not there, because they've put so much work into developing this first-person engine and the detail that is involved when you are in first person, seeing the gun up close, seeing your hands up close, and being able to get really up close and personal with the environment and well in first person. That's a big deal. So for them to add a third-person mode on top of that, God, we've already been waiting 5+ years for this game anyway, eventually 7+ years. Doing a third-person mode could have added, another couple years on top of that even. It's not as simple as be like, hey, just back up in the third person, done. It's not that simple. All the animations need to be reworked. The environment probably needs to be reworked in some aspect as well. The combat needs to be reworked. It's not like the combat can remain the same from first person to third person. Something needs to change. So I can understand why they had to make that decision early on in development. Although we still get third person in driving, right, as we're going to see later, and I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm okay with it. I actually prefer it this way. I don't mind third person, but for games like this, I think it actually takes a lot away. And if you're going to be doing this type of combat, like the Division is great for many things, but I'm not in love with everything in it because of how it's a third person combat oriented game. So I think if it was first person, I might have a different feel on it, and I think this kind of immerses you in the world a lot better. Same thing with driving a car. I hate being in cockpit mode
Yeah.
So being in third person, I'm a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm very glad they added that option. I think it looks really badass and cool in first person in the cockpit, especially since they put so much work into designing the interior of this really cool car. But I hate it. I feel like I'm, even though that's how we drive in real life, obviously, it just feels so claustrophobic, and it feels like I can't find myself around the environment when I'm in first person in a car. So I'm very glad that they had that pulled out view when you're in the vehicle. How do you guys feel about Jackie so far? We've been introduced to this one character, a partner of sorts. Who knows if he's always your partner or not, but would you want him to be somebody who's consistently your partner throughout the game, Derek?
I think I would like to mix it up. I would kind of like, I think it's just going to be a pair duo for your squad.
Yeah.
If there's just a way that they can swap characters out, I think that would really be good, especially since we're getting this highly philosophical world on man and machine being
Right.
as one.
Now, I wish we didn't have to touch on this because I hate that it's a conversation, but I feel like we have to because a lot of people are talking about the language being used in the game, which is so bizarre to me because Cyberpunk is this dystopian world in some senses. It's got a lot of grittiness to it, and you're going to
I
find,
didn't know that
especially
people
in a city
actually
like
had
this.
an issue with it. What is
Oh,
the
yeah,
actual
there's
issue
definitely-
they have?
Yeah, this is all new to me. Please go
Really?
on.
No, yeah, there's definitely people that feel like saying, you know how I feel about the C word. Don't get me wrong, I hate the C word, but the amount of times the C word is used, specifically gender associated insults used in the game, like the C word, or even, I'm just going to say a cocksucker. The things like that, people are finding offense with. And this is not like the mass audience, don't get me wrong, but it is a vocal minority that's very much making themselves heard right now, that they don't like the use of language in the game, specifically from Jackie. And a lot of you also don't like that he interplants these Spanish words into his language as well. They say that's like very Hollywoodized. Again, like I don't have a problem with it. I think this makes sense for the world. It's world building, if anything. I'm assuming you guys agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's dystopian.
Right.
Like, it's not like it's going to be all fluffy cats and rainbows. Like, people are going to
I think
curse.
their issue would be that they don't need to use it to. I mean, whenever people have this type of argument, right? It's not that, oh, you use it, I'm offended. It's that, did you need, or at least the
Right.
level-headed ones. It's that, did you need to use this to get the same sort of reaction out of me? Same thing, like, for instance, remember the whole issue with The Walking Dead. It wasn't that he bashed his Glenn's face in with the bat. It was that they showed it in such gruesome detail.
Yeah, was it
And that's what
necessary?
right. So it wasn't that they did it. It wasn't the act of them doing it. It wasn't even them showing it. It was the amount of detail and how gruesome it was as necessary. I argue yes. I absolutely do think. I don't think I would have. That was one of the most memorable for a show, especially that I don't even care about as much anymore. That was one of the most memorable moments of TV I can tell you about.
When it comes specifically to Cyberpunk, I actually think using the C word or using sea suckers, I actually don't have an issue with that. I think it fits the world they're building. I actually thought that the F-bombs were dropped a little too often, and that might sound weird. It just felt a little forced to me. It felt like they were trying to be
Here's
edgy
my thing.
almost.
Would I speak like they are?
I don't know.
Depends on the situation.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
listen,
Jackie
realistically,
drops that
Drew's
F-bomb
been around me
constantly.
enough to know, like, in person, like, don't get me wrong, I do it excessively on the show once in a while, but if, like, any of you watch my especially my older ones where I did it from the PlayStation, where I was just a lot more, easygoing with it, I can drop cursing like it's nothing, and then whatever, that's just how I am, and I know it's not the best thing, but that's how I am, right? So my thing is, if it's nothing more than what I do already, I have no problem with it. What
Right.
I'm thinking, though, is that the people that have an issue with it, for instance, what strikes me as odd is the people that have an issue with him, dropping Spanish words in his casual conversations. I don't think that people realize that there are people out there that do that. And
Mhm.
while Hollywood maybe overdoes it, with how often they make it feels like, it happens enough. I've
It's a thing,
experienced it in real life. So it's not out there, and these people are not, Class A citizens. Just because you're playing them, it doesn't mean that they are a hero by any means. They're actually
Mhm.
they're low level thugs in a way. That's what you're supposed to be playing. So
100% agree with that. I think that
Definitely.
the language is necessary. I think it might have been, and maybe for demo purposes, a little much. Like they were really trying to push this narrative. Like, look how like mature, honestly, we are. I kind of got that vibe. It felt a little forced to me, but at the same time, it feels like that's the character Jackie would be. He would curse like a sailor. They might want to pull back on the F-bomb like every sentence, or even being used multiple times in one sentence. I feel like that just kind of overdoes it for me personally, but it doesn't bother me. It's not something that turns me off the game in any way, and I certainly don't have a problem with them dropping some of the more offensive, honestly, language, because it's meant to be. That's the world that they're living in. It's an offensive world. I get gender suited insults can bother people. I know in The Witcher it was that way as well. If you were playing as if you're playing as a male character, you get thrown asshole and this and that. But if you're playing as a female character, you get thrown, I'm just going to say it, cunt and bitch and stuff like that, like gender suited insults. And that makes some people feel like, why is he just being called an asshole and she's being called gender suited insults? So I get it to an extent, but this is the world that they're living in. We got to put ourselves in this world. It's not us saying these words, it's the characters saying these words in the environment that they've been brought up in. And that's where the divide needs to happen. Let's jump over to, because we passed it already, but we saw the city. That was the most breathtaking part for me personally when I saw that city for the first time.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree? Was that like the moment for you, or was it something else?
For me, it's gonna be later on in the trailer.
to me,
I
it
don't know
was
what.
absolutely that part.
Sorry, what was that, Mike?
I said for me, it was absolutely the when you go into the city, when she walks out of her
Yeah.
apartment and starts wandering around, and you see how live the city is, plus how deeply constructed it is. It's not just a city. It's not just walking down a street and there is a tall building on your left or a tall building on your right. There is a multi-level, again, dystopian future city with, a ton of active, life consistently floating at multiple stages of, these buildings.
Now we see multiple times in the trailer, you'll pass by these characters that are sort of having their own dialogue going on, right? When she first walks out into the complex, the apartment complex, she passes this guy at a sort of vendor who's cursing off the vendor. Now, what I wonder, and I personally, maybe I'm being pessimistic, but I think this is a Naughty Dog thing we got going on here. And I have no problem with it, but I'm not going to pretend like these characters have their own lives that they live out and it's all happening in real time. Like that was a scripted thing that happened. When you first walk out of the apartment, everybody's going to experience that. That guy's always going to be there. He's always going to be cursing off the vendor. It's not like they programmed this AI that's going to have these conversations organically in the game. And I think you're going to pass multiple instances where they created these scripted sequences to make the city life feel alive. But I wonder if they're going to do it to an extent where people that are playing this for 200 hours are not going to see those same instances, or get to a point where they don't see it at all anymore, where it's just people bumping into each other in the city, and that suspension, that facade is worn away. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I think that's going to happen. I think we're kind of hoping right now that things are going to look as real and lifelike, and these characters are going to feel as lifelike as they do in this 48-minute trailer. But I would doubt that's going to be the case myself. But I'm being pessimistic, maybe to guard myself. I hope that they can achieve that. Facade is such a strange word. What? I'm an architect. Facade is a perfectly normal word for me to say. Let me just real quick, let me reveal the winner while we are in the middle of this. Let me reveal the winner of the TLUN pillow. How many people got in on this? 12 people want that TLUN
Even
pillow.
more people want the pillow than they want the shirt.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, give me the pillow.
And the winner of the TLUN pillow is
Watch Derek gets it.
the Wolf Yee.
Nice.
Congratulations, Wolf Yee. You are the winner of the TLUN pillow, and that is the final giveaway for the night, guys. I hope you enjoyed the 3 giveaways we did.
Miss Mel's comment.
Not saying it out loud.
We like the C word, but facade to the way it's. Wait, facade girl, bye. Yeah, right, Tibbs. Yeah, moving on from that, I don't really want to spend more time on that than really necessary.
Yeah.
We're out of the city now. We had this moment where we were driving the car with a character I forget the name of. Really cool looking design on him. This guy though, really cool design, and the fact that when you go to this, I'm trying to remember what he's called necessarily, but he's the one who upgrades you, right? He's the one who puts in the new eye and the new sensor and this and that. It's not just choosing from a menu, right? You're literally seeing him come up on your face, remove your eye, put in a new eye, and then allowing you to test that eye with zooming in and out. I thought that was so cool, the level of detail involved here. Like, look at all the animations that are going on, the screens coming into place, his animations as a character, the amount of work that must have been put into all of this, and the amount that of options that you must have throughout the game. Who knows, like, how many different optical sensors you might have, or this or that, and is there going to be an animation for every single one of them? That's pretty mind-blowing, if so, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, just the attention to detail, like back in the limo when you were driving with the guy, like you could actually see the smoke that he breathed out rise and then fall. So that was incredible as well. And then you got this detail with Victor here.
Right. Yeah, man, 100%. I want to just give a shout out to Plan J real quick, coming in with that. We went to the wrong screen here. Coming in with that a 15 viewer raid. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Let's give a shout out to Plan J, part of our stream team, and a really cool, positive streamer that deserves support. So please give him that follow, everybody. Let's see. I started to have to skim towards like the last 20 minutes of this trailer myself, but I know he upgrades you in multiple ways here. And one of them is to be able to zoom in and zoom out, which is something you use in the upcoming mission, where you're going to get a sort of robot, right? There's a sort of a valuable robot that you're trying to get from the, what is the name of the gang that they go in on at the end, Derek? Very seedy looking gang.
They'll say it in a little bit, and then it'll hit me.
Yeah.
But yeah, the ones that removed... Oh, I shouldn't say anything, because that's actually my favorite part, because you can notice the detail that they have with the mask and how eroded the human body is in order to fit in the machinery.
Yeah, that part was definitely one of the cooler parts. I will agree with you there. You go to see, I'm trying to remember, you go to see this woman first, which is coming up very soon, who turns out to, I think, turn on you, or at least... she uses you. Maelstrom, thank you, Scoozy. Maelstrom is the name of the gang that you infiltrate to try and steal or buy their robot, I should say. Sorry, go ahead, Derek. What were you gonna say?
I said, oh, that was it. I knew it was gonna hit me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Now, once we get to those moments, you start to see a little bit more of a binary dialogue tree system start up. The game does have choices. The choices do affect gameplay. You can decide to de-escalate a situation or escalate a situation. And in this demo, I think they do a little bit of both, right? They de-escalate a few, and then at the very end with Maelstrom, the escalation happens with that system there. How diverse do you expect that to be, though, in a game like this? And do you expect it to really have strong ramifications on the story?
Knowing CD Projekt Red, I can definitely expect it.
Was that the way in The Witcher? Because, you know me, I only got about 12 hours in. Does it really have a system that allows you to branch off into multiple paths?
Yeah, like you notice like as a person who's played the entire Witcher trilogy, 1, just standalone, and 2, via like 3 games on a PC, doing it standalone does branch out tremendously. But if you go PC, it's a whole nother ballgame.
Okay.
So it's definitely possible. I'd be interested to find out if this is a trilogy or just a one-off.
Oh, it can't be a one-off. No way. They've implied that The Witcher and Cyberpunk like are their series moving forward. They're gonna alternate between the two of them. If I believe that's what's gonna happen, at least. I think you're gonna see every 3-4 years you're gonna get a new Witcher game and then a new Cyberpunk, new Witcher, then Cyberpunk. And I can see that happening for a whole new Witcher trilogy, and I think this is the start of a Cyberpunk trilogy, if I were to guess.
Oh yeah,
I can agree with that.
And they also did announce a 30-hour RPG in the Witcher universe, considering that the Gwent single player got spun off into its very own RPG now. So,
oh, did it really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I never
And
got
part
attached
of-
to Gwent at all. I was actually very intimidated by Gwent.
Yeah, I forgot about that. There, yeah, it's a 30 hour.
That scared the shit out of me when I first pulled it
Why?
up. I'm like, what does? I just like, it was so overwhelming to me. I was like, no way am I even trying to learn
Wow,
this card
really?
game.
I got the hang of that pretty quickly.
Really?
I probably played about 2 hours of Gwent when I was playing.
Okay. Yeah, I played about 10 minutes before I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So moving on. I got other things I can do in this game. I don't have enough time anyway.
I love Gwent, dude.
Yeah?
I have the physical edition of Gwent that was made by CD Projekt Red. So
Oh, good for you, man.
Yeah, Drew, get good.
All right, so
Yeah.
right now we're driving in first person. It's pretty freaking cool though. Seeing
It does
the
look really cool. I just
Yeah.
hate driving like this in a game. Like, I want to be able to take around my surroundings. Like, driving like this, especially in a game like GTA or something, it gives me such anxiety. Like, one of the things I like about video games is not having to worry about getting fucking blindsided like I do in real life. I don't want to have to simulate driving in real life because I'm terrified that somebody's going to hit me from the side because I'm not paying
Yeah.
attention.
I thought this was pretty amazing that it
Oh, yeah.
so seamlessly went into a clearly scripted sequence. You're not in control of the car right now; it's on rails. But still, the way that it seamlessly transitioned into that, very impressive.
ooh.
Something you would expect from a Naughty Dog game, right? Something that's very focused on this linear single-player experience, not something you would expect from this huge open world title.
Ooh, look at that vista.
See, Milk Jug knows what it's all about. I just want to shout out Milk Jug. Triple Triad is the best card game to ever be released in a video game, 100%. Triple Triad was unbelievable. Yeah, look at this. It's really unbelievable the level of detail throughout the entirety of the city. And now when you're in the car, you can really soak that in. One thing I want to say though is not really any other cars on the roads.
Yeah, this is more of the outskirts.
Yeah.
So there's got to be a lot less cars, and there's actually a few there was like 2 cars that just passed. So
Yeah, but something that might be necessary in order to traverse the roads without just enormous congestion that becomes frustrating, right? It might just be a design decision.
Right.
yeah, to be fair, you don't want to take the player out of the action.
Right, exactly. I mean, cities are awful when it comes to traffic. Do they really want to make you experience that? I doubt it. So if they have to take some cars off the road when you're actually in the car, you know, that makes sense. Milk Jug says, environment reminds me of Ghost in the Shell. This reminded me more of Ghost in the Shell than anything else, really, that I could compare it to. And I'm not sure if that's because V in this demo is a woman, and especially the way she looks with the leather jacket and all. It just reminded me so much of Ghost in the Shell, and I have no qualms with that at all. That's exactly what I want this game to feel
We're just
like,
not going
actually.
to comment on that at all whatsoever because YouTube doesn't like it.
Yes, people hate us on YouTube for Ghost in the Shell. But what do you think you guys will play as? Do you think you'll go with the female character, or do you think you'll go with male?
I'll probably go with female.
Judging from what I've heard out of 2 gameplay demos, I'll probably go female because they say that the female has a lot more oomph in the voice as well as emotion and projection.
I really like the voice actress in this demo. I think she does a great job. Who knows
That
what the
could
male's
also
gonna sound like.
change if this game doesn't come out for 2 years.
Yeah, I'm with you though. I'm 100% going with the female route, and I'm not sure I would change her design very much from what they go with in this demo. I really like. I don't know if that's the default design for female V, but I really like the design a lot. The hairstyle, the face, really
I like
badass.
customizing all that stuff all the time, so I very well might change.
Now,
it.
you don't see any like sliders or anything like that for customization of the character in this. It seemed to be preset faces and heads and so on. Would that be disappointing for you at all, Mike, if you don't have the sliders?
No, because I don't always need to do all that. Sometimes I think it's a little bit much. Sometimes I think I spend too much time, and then sometimes I might go a little bit too far on it. So I don't really care that much about that, but no, I don't think it bothers me all that much.
So this is pretty cool here. You are actually hacked into, and I think they put a honesty virus into you that forces you to tell the truth. I think that's a really badass mechanic that could come up in multiple ways with enemies using it against you, but more so with you using it against your enemies. And I'm wondering how that'll happen organically within the gameplay. If it's going to be, just linear story sequences, or if there's a way you could actually do it on an individual basis in the game. We see it on a more mass scale. At one point, we hack into, I think, the building as a whole at one point, right? And don't we make it so that their weapons don't work? That's pretty cool already, but I wonder if on an individual basis, if you can hack into individuals. I'm going to bet yes.
I would say it depends on the character. I would say that you could do it to select NPCs. that could give you something, almost like in the way that they do with Octopath, where select NPCs could, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where some of them allow you to interact and some of them don't. I would say that would be more likely.
I still think that would be really cool if they could work that mechanic into things. So we're getting pretty close. I might fast forward a little bit here since we're in a little bit of an area we don't need to look at here. Let's jump forward to after they're out of the car. They're going into Maelstrom now. Climbing up the stairs. Derek, if you want to... Okay, so they're just walking in on Dum Dum now. Derek, if you want to jump to that area. This was a really... Oh, man, let me see if I can read it from here. We're at 3350 about.
Okay, gotcha.
So if you want to jump to 3350, climb the elevator right now. Dum Dum, I thought, was a really cool character. Especially as this enemy NPC of sorts. I really like the voice acting and the dialogue. There's the script here I thought was very strong. There were certain moments in the game, the demo, that I thought the script was a little underwhelming, a little lackluster, but I thought this entire sequence was very tense, and I really felt like I was in the moment throughout this entire sequence. And this was your favorite, Derek?
Yeah. Just hold on and watch for the big guy in the back to come up.
Big guy in the back. Okay. Oh yeah, when he walks in a little bit here. I think we talked with Dum Dum a little bit first, right? Because doesn't he show us the enemy robot, the sort of spider-like robot? But yeah, so the gist here with Maelstrom is that these individuals literally want to become more machine than human, right? They're trying to separate themselves from humanity, and they've upgraded a huge portion of themselves already. You can see their faces are completely dysmorphed. I don't even know what's going on with all the different red lights. I'm not sure if those are all individual eyes or whatnot. And now what's happening here? They give you this inhaler. Is it supposed to make you high?
The inhalers actually function in multiple ways. Some are just for getting high. Others are for actually power-ups. So it's an interesting mechanic.
Milkjug says, how does no one else see Ghost in the Shell? I guess I'm the only one that's with you, Milkjug. That's the only thing I thought of throughout this whole thing. I didn't think of Blade Runner. I thought of Ghost in the Shell 100% throughout this whole thing. This kind of blew me away, too, I have to say. The animation on this little spider robot. The way it comes out of the chest and the way it walks around and goes on the ceiling and so on. Just the level of detail put into the animations on these little moments, again, is something you see in a linear single-player experience. You don't see this level of detail when it comes to the animations in this huge open-world title. That's where they pull back on, right? That's what you expect from open world, is them to pull back on those aspects, and it's just not happening here. Here you go, Derek. So the guy's walking up. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so you gotta look at the eye area. You can actually notice that his mask, his eye, is actually in towards his skull, and that there's actually black irradiation of the skin.
Okay.
So it's more within, and to me, that level of detail is very...
Yeah, like he's concave. Yeah, his face is concave. It's all built in. You can see. Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I feel as though I don't know if your teachers show you this growing up, but whenever you hit the World War II era and they want to show you like the horrific side of it,
right?
It's just like, oh hey, here's a photo of this man missing his face.
Yeah, it's completely blown in.
That's what they were going for.
It looks like that scene in Saving Private Ryan at the very beginning where Tom Hanks turns away and then when he turns back, the guy's face is literally concave, blown in. It looks like that. Yeah, 100%. Like the level that this group is willing to go to dehumanize themselves is kind of terrifying, right? This is the world that we live in, and that's why I'm okay with the language. And this is the world they're building. This is the dark underside of an already dark world. And I think it's funny that it's called Night City, but then it's got this very bright vibe throughout the whole demo, but then you go down into this area and it's pretty terrifying, right? I wonder if that's the contrast they're going for. They didn't show us any nighttime stuff in this demo.
Oh my god, you're right.
Well, and a lot of people complaining about that.
Kind of wasn't it?
Nope.
I think we'll just see that later.
Right?
They show a little bit of nighttime later, Derek?
Nah, I think it's okay. Like, when we get to that in demo, like, we'll just be like, oh, hey, it's dark outside, and you'll see Night City, but we won't see, like, any high-end crime.
I don't know, man. I think the thing is, what's crazy about that is we're so psyched on this right now, right? I think
Mhm.
we are like everybody's really high on how great this looks and everything, but think about it. Cyberpunk is all about the nightlife, man. It really
It's
is
a
like
big
all the
part of it, but I think that they're
neon,
trying to push that that's not all that Cyberpunk is. A lot of people are like,
right?
Cyberpunk is only nighttime. It's not. It's not at
No,
all
I don't think
only
it
No.
is at
nighttime.
all. But
No,
I'm
and
just
I
saying,
think
like that's the thing I need to see though, because I want that. I want that bright neon outrun style look
Yeah.
to it.
yeah, and I think they're gonna save that for like I would say 6 months out of game release. That way they're kind of like have that final big hook to it.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's not like they're not going to do it because they've already said they got real time, dynamic time and weather. So it's in the game. It's built into it. We're going to see nighttime happen organically as time goes on, and it's going to be really
Yeah,
cool to see the city light up organically as night comes in and things dim. I think that's going to be really cool to see if we're driving around in the car and it's dusk and then suddenly all the neon lights come on as we enter into the city. That's going to be a really cool moment that happens in real time. But I'm
Right.
okay with them focusing on daytime right now, and that's another reason it reminds me a lot of Ghost in the Shell, because a lot of Ghost in the Shell is in the daytime, but it's still Cyberpunk. So that's a lot of the reason I think this looks like Ghost in the Shell for me. I really like this freaking shotgun she has here. The graphic nature of blowing off the enemy's limbs, which another testament again that you can slide down, get low on the enemy, shoot out their legs. And one very funny moment happened, which was clearly a glitch, where she slides in, she blows off this guy's legs, and then in slow-mo, the guy goes, "Oh, my legs!" And while he's saying that, she had already blown off his head. So he has no head, and he's saying, "Oh, my legs!" Which is absolutely hilarious. I'm going to see if I can time it for when we get to it. It's coming up pretty soon, I think.
Yeah, I think it's second. Oh, here. Nope,
Here it
not
comes.
yet.
It's coming very close. I'm just gonna keep it full screen for a moment here. It's coming up very soon. But this shotgun is so OP. It's ridiculous. I love it. Hero Dan T with the host rate of 8 viewers. Let's give him a shout out, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Here it comes.
Ooh.
No, not that guy. But you can see blew out his leg, and he's hanging on the counter there. See how he's hanging on the counter? Like that's crazy. That level of detail is absolutely crazy. Oh, here's another weapon that looks unbelievable. This one is like something from Resistance. Remember the one where you could put a tracker on enemies and then it would target them, each bullet?
Oh.
Only this one just does it automatically. It has like a smart system where it knows where the enemy is and the bullets curve, wanted style, towards the enemy. Which is also super OP. But I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I get, maybe we missed it because
See,
she's
like,
not on the
how
shotgun
many-
anymore. We must have missed it.
Still interesting to see like how many mod systems are going into this game.
Right?
There you go.
I mean, like, is it
That's
going to be
okay.
Borderlands style, you think? Where it's just going to be, like,
I don't think it's
unbelievable
gonna be
levels of
that
customization?
extensive, but
No.
I think it's going to be a decent amount. I think you're going to see a lot of customization and different builds, and that's what gets me going. Like, you guys have no idea. Anytime I see a game that uses numbers for your hit, every time you hit a character, I get so excited. I'm like, oh, these people mean business. Like, I
Yeah.
am so in.
Definitely. Here at Dan TV, good night to you, sir. Thank you so much for coming in again with the support. Once again, you've been added onto our raider list. You're already on there, but we added you on there again. We're going to try and get that support back to you when it works out timing-wise, for sure. You've been such a great help. All right, let's see. We're getting pretty close to the end of the demo at this point. Things escalated because... There it is. See, his head was blown off. My legs. So that's great. Thank you so much for that. That's the glitch. Yeah, that's so good. I love it. I hope it doesn't go away. Keep it. But it's kind of cool at the same time, though, that slowing down time actually slows down the voice of the enemy there. That's the nice little touch that they added in. Again, it's the level of detail that they're putting into this world, into the enemy designs and the enemy interactions. Pretty mind-blowing.
Wolfie, I don't think that they're going to be nearly as open to play the game. You could say the same thing about any of those types of games, but once you get to a certain enemy, the OP-ness, quote-unquote, kind of loses its luster.
So here's where she's hacking into this guy, and through that she's looking at the full facility at this point, separating it now into sections.
This is the building's personnel system. Let's focus on the squad containing the Maelstrom ganger we just connected to. From here, we can deploy software that affects the whole squad.
So she's deploying software that affects everybody, and I think this is how she's turning off their weapons, maybe?
All
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, but now she also pulls out. So where did these come from? Did she already have these, or were these an upgrade? These.
No, the developer says during the trailer, like, oh, hey, let's go see a few other mods that are in later in the game.
Okay, so they jumped forward for the purposes of just demonstrating how badass this would be.
Yeah, and plus, if you go back to the original Cyberpunk trailer, they did show the female with
Yes.
the claws. So I think it needed to show up at some point, and I feel like this was the perfect point. Especially, like, hanging off the walls like that.
Double jumping now, sliding back and forth, all this happening in first person, slowing down time. And again, imagine this is all in first person, and this is just one modification we're looking at now with the claws coming through the arms. There's got to be so many other modifications, and all the different animations are going to have to work out, and the attacks are going to have to work out in first person to make this all work. It's huge, man. The density of this game, the amount that's going into it is huge. And that is why it's taking so long. And why it's subject to change as well, right? So it's hard to say that it's going to work exactly as we're viewing it here. But man, even if it's close to this, I think that they've got something pretty crazy on their hands. All right, I think we're going to come up close to nighttime here, but let's just kind of do our final feelings on what we're seeing, I guess. We'll start with you, Derek. I know that you're super hyped. Witcher is one of your favorite games of all time, right?
Yeah, that is correct. I'm really hyped for this game, what they've shown so far. It's gone beyond my expectations, because originally I just thought it was going to be like Deus Ex with a little bit more, but it's turning out to be Deus Ex with an extra side as well as a free course meal.
Right. Yeah, man, 100%. I will say, like, when I first heard the Gamescom reactions, I think they might have pushed it a little bit, honestly, in the hype levels. I think that the way they were talking about it felt like it was going to look like something that was so clearly impossible without like an RTX or something like that.
You could also just not be watching it on the right screen. You got to remember too, our visuals are hindered, by what we're being challenged.
That's true. Yeah, it might have looked better in person,
YouTube,
for sure.
And you got to remember, like, if you watch a movie, would you rather watch it on YouTube or on a 4K Blu-ray?
Yeah, but either way, I mean, this is probably, if not the best looking open world game we've ever seen, it's very close. And considering what it's trying to go for as far as the scale, you have to keep that in mind as well. Like Horizon Zero Dawn looks better in a lot of ways, but Horizon Zero Dawn has these big empty vistas, right? It's not as densely populated and detailed as what they're going for here. You have to keep that in mind. This is one of, if not the best looking open world title we have.
I don't think Horizon
yet.
Zero Dawn looks that much better when you compare to how much more is going on in this game.
That's what I'm saying. You have to keep that in mind. What is going on here? How dense it is. Horizon is not dense like this is.
Right.
I think the environments in Horizon are much prettier in a lot of ways, and in some ways more graphically impressive. But it's just there's not near as much going on, and you have to keep that in mind. But I mostly was impressed with the combat, because this is their first time going into first person. They've never done this before, as far as I know. Am I right on that, Derek? You might know better than me when it comes to CD Projekt Red.
Yeah, this first time going in the first person, which is just a great transition that they've made, considering everything we've seen so far.
Right, for them to jump in the first person, the genre, if you want to call it that, for the first time, that's pretty crazy. That the combat looks so great. I wasn't expecting that. I thought the gunplay and the combat was going to be the weakest part of this trailer, and it certainly was not. And that city, seeing that city for the first time and how populated it was, and all the pedestrians, probably the best realized city we've ever seen in an open world title. So there's a lot to be impressed by here, and we're looking at nighttime, as Scusi said, for the first time in the trailer. But you're not really seeing nighttime the way you want to see it in Cyberpunk. I think you get to drive a little bit though. So, do they go into the city at all? I think I might have stopped before this happened.
I know.
No, we don't really get to see like what we know Cyberpunk to be at night. You don't really get to see that here.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So maybe they're keeping that secret because they know it's going to be this really impressive thing when everybody gets to see it for the first time. But I think this is about it for the demo.
Yeah, this is really just about it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, remember, this is a work in progress. Puddles can change over time.
Right, right. Really, I think it was smart of them to release it. The overall consensus has been, holy shit, like, I can't wait for this game, right? And I think they were smart to push it to the side, you know, knowing that things will change. I think they were very smart to make it so clearly stated in the trailer. And I think even if things do change, I think people will understand, because this is still a year and a half, 2 years away. And I would hope people would understand that things are, even if it's not for the worse or for the better, just changes in general, we're going to see, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. All right. Derek, only person that joined us tonight, but I'm very glad you did, because you're somebody that is very versed in CD Projekt Red and The Witcher, and was very passionate about Cyberpunk. So glad that you came in with us, man.
Thank you. Thank you for opening the door for me. And I can't wait to just get my hands on this, man.
Oh, man. I know. We got a long ways to go, but it's gonna be worth it, I think, when it finally comes out.